Hello and good evening, and welcome to another edition of Aaron Smith is Undefeated Season 2. Happy New Year to all. Now, normally I would be doing a video and you would see my handsome face all over the screen, but that is not to be. As you know, I got 2 kids now, and it's very hard to do certain things. I make time, my wife makes time, and right now this is the best time to do it. So let's just get into it. Wow, where do we begin? It's been a interesting start to the new year, 2026. A lot going on. And I just want to say that I'm not going to pick a side. I realize that there is a lot of nonsense, especially going on in Washington, and with this ridiculous president, and it's like one thing after another, and it's like, when is it in? Whether it's kidnapping a whole president in Venezuela to take his oil, or sending ICE into cities to police citizens. That's what he thinks he's doing, and innocent people are getting killed, and the tension is high here in America. But I want to say, like I said, there's no Democrat or Republican me. I'm not with that. The Dems are just as bad, and they have allowed this to continue as well. I mean, I know they're not in any position to do anything. They don't have a majority of the minority now, and they obviously dropped the ball in 2024, and it has come back. And even though I will give it to Senator and former President Harris, Vice President Harris, that she predicted all this. She said exactly what she said, and exactly what Trump was going to do, and word for word, verbatim. And he's doing it, and then some. And like, he promised a whole bunch of things, lower gas prices and lower cost of groceries. And I'm here in a family of 4, and its groceries are ridiculous. Even with the assistance we get food stamps, and we're grateful for that. But even that's hot. Gotta budget that and make sure that stretches out. And I do know that another budget is looming, and another vote is looming, and we might go through what we went through, for those 45 days, longest government shutdown in history, and it's just too much. And with him acting like an 8-year-old and an 60-year-old man's body is not helping. I mean, just to strip away the fact that he's not very liked by many people on the left, if any. And the fact that he is arguably one of the most polarizing presidents of all time. I think he'll go down as that. The thing that I have about it is that, like, I don't see him as bad as he is. I don't see him as the worst threat out there. Like, there's worse coming. And he does a lot to basically make things worse than they were. I know Biden wasn't great either. And I go on record by saying that the only reason why Biden got in is because they didn't want Trump. And they just want to get Trump out of there. And he ended up getting back in there anyway. So, there you go. But, sending ICE into Minnesota and doing all this crazy nonsense. And yes, I know what happened to the women out there, Renee Gold. Was it Renee Good? Renee Good. And I saw the video. I saw many aspects of the video, so many points of view of the video. And it's a damn shame that should have happened. That woman should still be alive. And there should be no reason why that ICE agent had to shoot her either. And I know that's not the answer that either side wants to hear now, but you have to understand that situation could have been handled a lot better. I believe that her wife shouldn't have said what she said. I believe that she should have not been there. And, it's these overzealous agents. But that's what you're trained to do. And it's just a tragic loss. And, with this guy just being the quarterback, this team America is not looking very good right now. Now is it? But granted, it's a lot of people. I spoke to a friend of mine. He's like, I'm really scared. There's a lot going on, and I'm very scared of what's going on, what's going to happen next, and the future, and months ahead, and I feel him. There is just that little frightness, and I kind of feel it as well. But I do believe in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I pray every day. I believe that He will be coming back soon. He will be returning soon, and we all need to repent and get back to Him. And that's how I feel, and I believe that is true. And this is what we all need to just get back to. Just gotta get back to Christ. And even when it comes to these politicians who say they believe in God and they are Christians, and they don't act Christian, they don't do Christian things. I know I'm not perfect. I have said several things over this past week that has not made me Christian, that I have to pray for. And basically, I'll get into it later in the show, regarding, the apartment that me and my family are in, the certain nonsense that we deal with on a regular basis. And, this is, you just got to stay prayed up. You just have to. And it's just not easy. It's not easy. And dealing with people and situations and problems, and it's always something. It's always something. And it just, excuse me. It's just unfortunate that how New York has become as well. And yes, I'm going to get into this new mayor, and this is over on Mamdani, Mayor Mamdani, whatever you want to call him. I'm not really feeling him either. I'm not a fan of politicians. I haven't been for a while now. But going back to Trump, going back to Washington, it just, like I said, if these are supposed to be Christians and this is supposed to be people of God, men and women of God, they need to start acting like it and start being about it. And right now they're not. There's a difference between being a godly person and a religious person. There are two different things. I have been both, and I have come off as hypocritical sometimes, and I have faulted many times, and I will admit to that. There's a lot of people that don't do that, especially in government. And just regular life, just regular civilians. They pray, they go to church, they do it, and they go back to doing what they do. God sees all, man, and He sees everything that's happening. Jesus predicted this many, many years ago when He was on this earth, and He will be coming back soon. And I just believe that people need to just get ready. And, all of this is in the Revelation. All of it. The book of Revelation. And it's to see it coming to light. And if anybody who doesn't believe in God and doesn't believe in the Bible, you'll soon find out as well. And, just see it for yourself. Ask Him for yourself. Don't take my word for it. I'm just supposed to share the gospel and tell good news. But I encourage everyone to read it for themselves. And even if you don't, like I said, that's that free will that everybody has. And sometimes, we pray for people, and you forgive them, and you pray for them, and they keep doing the same thing over and over again. Okay, so you give them over to God, and you pray them over to Him. And if they want to be about the devil, that's on them too. You give them over to God, and He'll hand them over to the devil. And that's how I see it. And I'm still, very fresh in this journey. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I am just trying to be a good servant of Him, a husband, a father, and, just do my best here. This politics stuff, it comes up in conversation, I joke about it because, like I said, you know, I do comedy and I enjoy posting memes and just having a good time and chopping it up with my friends online. But, in all seriousness, that's how I feel. And, I just continue to pray about all these things. And I just hope and pray that everyone gets right with him. But that's not up to me. That is entirely up to everyone who wants to. So, as much as I do not like him, I will pray for this president. I will hope that he does the right thing and he, repents of his ways. And if he doesn't, then he, well, hey, just like all of us, we all have to deal with God at the end of the day, end of our lives. So, yeah. All these politicians, man. I mean, it's one of those things that it's like these are all put in place anyway. These people were selected to do things anyway and be in these positions. So whatever I say probably won't matter anyway. Excuse me. So, as far as I'm concerned, so there is no rhyme or reason for that. But let's move on. So, this season, like I said, I'm just going to be more open, more thorough. In previous episodes, I have dabbled, I have said things, and I haven't said it. Everything I wanted to say, everything I wanted to talk about. Excuse me. And over a cold, and I live in East New York, and people got their dogs barking out in the cold and snow, whatever. That's New York, man, for you. But you're just gonna hear a lot more me, a lot more open things I've never discussed with the listeners, you guys, things that I've shared personal to me and things that I've dealt with, all that my wife knows, my mother knows, my sister knows, things that I only told family, close, personal people in my life, I'm going to open up more about that. My goal for this season is to be more interpersonal with you, the listener, and I like to have fun. I like to enjoy myself. I like to have a good time, and I want to be as blunt and as honest as I possibly can, because I feel that if you sugarcoat things, then people are going to think that you're full of crap anyway, and you want to be bothered. They want to be bothered with you. So I just think that if I'm more open, then maybe people will just take me more seriously. And another thing is, like, I'm not looking for any like sponsors or anything like that. It'd be nice. I mean, not for nothing. Like, I was dealing with one gentleman, freaking idiot. Yeah, you get a lot of this out there, here and out here, and I just want to say one real quick about this lovely neighborhood of mine in New York. There's too many people out here in the street that don't need to be. There's a lot of people out here who are in apartments that don't need to be. They need to be studied and monitored. And I want to dwell into that a little bit more. But going back to what I was saying, I believe that I was dealing with one person, and I signed up for this thing, this podcast thing. It sounded sweet, and I had this whole setup, and everything was cool, and I uploaded everything, and I was talking to him, and he sounded like, he really wanted to, help with the podcast, and he ended up being full of shit. I never heard from him again, never spoke to him again, and it was really like, free trial, and and after that you pay for it. I'm like, listen, like, back then I didn't really have, money. Like, I don't have time to spend money on things like that, and I damn sure don't do now. So, like, if you want to be a sponsor of the show, you want to help the show, you want to support the show, that's cool. Maybe I'll set up like a page for that. No GoFundMe's or nothing like that, but something like that. Maybe like a payment option or something like that, Zelle or something like that. Maybe we'll cross that bridge when we get there. There was another one that was on Instagram. I forget his name, and he basically the same spiel. Oh, you keep popping up on my feed, and want to put you on the show, and just that and third. And I'm like, okay. And I never got to that because, well, being a family person, and just having a daughter who maybe possibly special needs a little more attention, can't have time for those things like that. So it really never got to that. I just don't want nobody to BS me. And if you have something for me, make sure it's legit, make sure it's sincere. I'm not going to dig out in my pocket for nothing that isn't having nothing to do with my family. And I will do my best to put this show over with what I have and what I got. But when it comes to all that, be legit, be upfront, don't sugarcoat nothing. I know the podcast racket. I've been doing this, oh wow, the first podcast, it has to be over 5 years, maybe even more. When I did Aerosmith Can't Lose back in the studio, downtown Manhattan by Wall Street. And then Empire Radio, shout out to David Slims Glover. He put me on there, my first show, and it was just mainly to just put over, and I was doing stand-up regularly. I am not doing that anymore. I'll tell you guys about that in a second. And that's good. Shout out to Arizona Iced Tea too. Are they still $1? I gotta look that up. I got the big one here, but I've been doing this, a while now, and you paying for studio time, doing that. I ain't doing that anymore, as everything is over the phone and computer and laptop. That's fine with that. I can make time for that, when everybody's asleep, and I have some time to myself. But like I said, I'm not gonna be doing all that. unless it's absolutely necessary, unless I see something in that is absolutely worth it, because time away from my family is has to be worth it. So, you know, if I could just record here, that's fine. But we'll cross that bridge if we can get there. But if not, that's cool too. But yeah, I just not. I'm not going to. I don't want to hear it unless you got something concrete it has a monetary value to it. I know I'm not no Joe Rogan or anything like that, but I work regularly anyway. I need something to pay bills with, and I'm willing to do the work as well. But that person would have to, or that station or whoever would have to, give me a nice, offer. I would appreciate that. But we'll see. And what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So we got a new mayor out here in the New York City. There's Mayor Mamdani, Democratic Socialist mayor. No, just no. Like, he came out of nowhere. He was a long shot in the Democratic primary. He just shot out like a rocket, and they didn't look back. He talks a good game, but will he walk it? We'll see. It's just, the smiling and the pandering, and we've been through this before. I know we all been through this before. The similarities with Obama in 2008, and we all know how that went. And but I just don't see it. But I don't have much of a choice, do I? I live here with the fam, so I have to, deal with it. He just only been in there, 2 weeks? Get back to me in April. June, 3 to 6 months. Then we'll go there from there. And he's communicating with Trump too. He went to the White House, and maybe he'll be a Democratic Trump. I don't know. But there is a guy that I know. He is a actor and comedian here in New York City by the name of Ron Barber. Shout out to Ron, who blew up with this MAGA for Mamdani campaign, and he sells hats and T-shirts, and he was actually at the rally that Zoran had, and he blew up, and it was, his thing is like really like taking off. So, but it seems like there were some people who voted for Trump that also voted for Zoran. I guess the interests are there, the similarities are there. They both have these fan bases, that basically are really into their person. I hope they're not as extreme as the Trump people are. But shout out to Ron again, and like I said, I really hope that, because of the last mayor we had, who was an egghead, who didn't do much of anything but roll us back, and Eric Adams did nothing for anybody, especially not in this household. So, he shouldn't even be. The only reason why he's walking free is because of the president I mean, like, he was going down too, and they let him off, and he knew, well, anybody, he knew, and everybody with a brain should have known that he wasn't getting back in there. Once he signed that off on that, he wasn't getting a second term, and I'm very glad of that. And I mean, I'm not ashamed to say it. I did not vote for Zoran Mandani. I did not connect with him, and I did not support him because I didn't know him. He came out of nowhere, and his policies are a little far-fetched, and these things, with the free buses and freezing the rent and all this other stuff, and that sounds cool on paper, but realistically, most of it is not very possible. So, but like I said, we'll see. And I know I'm not ashamed to say it. I voted for Curtis Lewa, who was a Republican in the election, and the only reason why I did that is because I know Curtis, in the city, and I'm aware of Curtis. I don't know him personally, but I know that he what he did right by this city. But I guess he's better off on the ground, on the streets, like he always been for almost these years. And I was hoping that Zoran would give him some kind of a job, but he didn't. He's giving all these other people jobs that don't know what they're doing, or handpicking, and most of these people, and I'm like, what the Jesus? But I'm like, okay, let's give him a chance. But a 34-year-old with next to no experience running the largest city in the world, you better have a damn good team right behind you to work it. And right now, I was looking at some people, and I'm like, and most of those people are from the Bill de Blasio administration. Bill de Blasio wasn't a terrible mayor, but he wasn't a good one, in my opinion. But it seems to me that it's just too early to tell about him. So again, April, June, get back to me. But I'll be watching, as most other people be watching. As I said, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. I am not registered to a party. I haven't been registered in many, many years to a party. I voted for Kamala last election 2024 because I didn't agree with Trump, and she lost, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I know. So my ideologies, my point of view, my perspective, looking at that candidate was who's best for the job, and I thought she was. Guess I was wrong. But like I said, when it comes to Zoran, get back to me. Like April, June. April, June be nice. So yeah. Well, let's see. The only other thing that I can really discuss is the matter is, like I said, we've been in this apartment for about a year now. As most of you know or didn't know, we were in Queens. We were living with someone in a program, and it was not a very nice place to be. I can tell this story now because we're not there anymore, but the gentleman who owned the place did not like me. The program did not like me. They treated my wife terribly. They did not do right by my wife. And so and Diana, our oldest daughter, was with us at that place, and they were all doing kind of a lot of weird things. Repairs at night, banging, clanging, the pipes and all kind of stuff. Like, it was at one point where the program didn't mention that we were married and that she was just by herself with a child. And then then when he found that out, he acted a whole completely differently. I had to call the police on him a couple times. I had to do all kind of, with the noise and stuff, and I do that here in this apartment. I live in a project in East New York, Boulevard Houses in East New York, and you know, this 311 is a joke. My management is a joke. They don't want to fix anything. They gonna give you a hard time about fixing anything. I had to take them to court last time, if you guys remember that from last season, and I spoke about that. But going back to this old house, we had to get out of there because of all that nonsense that gentleman who owned that house and that program was doing. Blamed us for every little thing that went wrong in that place. Using too much water. I'm like, we have kids, we have to wash ourselves. It was just ridiculous. And the day that we were leaving, we then got into this place that we're in now, in Boulevard, and I remember the day was December 13th. December 13th of last year. And we had just put down the first month's rent and the deposit for the place we're in now, here in Boulevard. And I figured we just take a few things for now. And I told my wife, get Diana, we'll just go. She was also pregnant at the time with our second child, Velvet, who was born in July of last year. So, get an Uber, get a few things, just get up and get out. The gentleman had the audacity to not want us to leave, blocking the car, blocking the Uber, didn't want us to leave, didn't want us to get out of the place. Almost had to call the police on him. Almost had the cab driver was like, get out of the way. I was about to say something to him, which I did. He's banging on the glass door. I think it was something about, if we don't let his wife in the driveway or let him go into the driveway, he's not letting us in. It was the bottom line that we were leaving his place and he didn't want us to. But you treat people so terribly, and that's why we left. So anyway, that guy was a piece of crap, and that same place would still use my wife's name for information to keep the light bill open there, the gas bill open there. Had to fight to get that turned off. Had to fight from stop paying rent over there. It was like a whole big deal. And then now we got this place here where, minor repairs don't want to get fixed. I mean, it is a point where it's, like, the plaster needs to be fixed on the windows. My daughter's wall will continue to crack. They fixed that several times. That was from the leak last year. Excuse me. That was what I had to take them to court for. So, I just thank God for getting us through all that, because it was a lot. And, then we have these neighbors next door. Got this one guy next door with his two dogs. They want to bark through the walls, and I think he's always on something. And when I first moved in here, it seemed like he was alright, and then next thing you know, he showed his true colors, and he tried to get nasty to me one time, and I'm not with that. And I, people have to understand one thing about me. I am genuinely not going to want to have conflict or deal with conflict. It takes a lot for me to get upset. It takes a lot for me to get angry. I don't have time for it. I got kids now. I got family now. I don't have to. No. I'm just not with it, man. I'm like, people just, and then, like, they just let anybody live here. And I, there's another program in here. And then, like I said, at this point, I'm just want to just pack up my family and get out of here and go somewhere, as I'm tired in New York. But we're here until we're here. I'll get into that more throughout this season. But the point I'm trying to say is that it comes a time when all these apartments and these places are not suitable for my family. And I thank God for giving a roof over our head. I will never, even that much, sometimes there have been some days where I'm like, I can't stand this place. I don't like this place. I don't want it. I'm glad we have it. But, it's just not for a family, especially with young girls. In my opinion, you can take it any way you want, but that's how I feel. That's how my wife feels. And we're just working on getting out of here. I hope I am not getting a cold, but excuse me for that. And it's just something that I rather do, because, like I said, here in Boulevard, here with this management, dealing with this management, they had 4 managers here, and they hire these maintenance people, and most of them are from the block or somebody else's block. You know how it is, especially in NYCHA. There's a lot of people, I think, for those who don't know about NYCHA and projects, usually, they hire people either from another project or around revolving projects or around an area of projects. And, like I said, when you're dealing with a certain people, they hire certain people to take I guess, care of the building of certain people. And, got a lot of mentally ill people here, a lot of substance abuse people here. And, a lot of these projects and a lot of these apartment buildings do that. They mix everybody in the pot, and they, these things just happen, issues happen, and it's just, oh, and I get it all, people would tell me all the time, why don't you just move? I'm saying, we're working on it. Oh, be grateful what you have. We are. Oh, it's not that bad. It kind of is sometimes. And, you know, I reached out to social organizations. Shout out to Dare to Struggle. They're an organization based out here in New York City that helps NYCHA residents. They do a lot of political rallies as well, anti-ICE, things like that. So shout out to them. But they, you know, if you check out my Instagram at the Aaron Smith, you'll see my interview with them that I did over the summer last year. And I also reached out to this councilman, Chris Banks, and he did nothing. And the only thing that he offered was to help me move, but like at that time I was like, why do I have to move when the other people should? It would have been a whole easier to move one person than a whole family, but they didn't want to do that, or they couldn't do that. And we had just got here, so no. And after a while, I just told him that, you know what, I say what I had to say, and I said what I had to say to him, and I was pretty much done. Like I said, that's why I don't deal with politicians anymore. And I emailed the mayor and didn't get a response. Fine. These people have their agendas, and it's not us. It's not people. Unless they got something to get out of it. So, if anyone was wondering, oh, did you reach out to the, people like that? I did. So, yeah, he sucks. So anyway, but it is what it is. All I can do is trust God and give it to Him and do my part. And that's how it's always been. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, there's going to be happy days, there's going to be sad days. And I just have to just trust Him. I have to give myself to Jesus Christ, and that's all I can do at the end of the day. And, forgive these people as best as I can, and just work with what I have. And, especially with Diana and the trifling Board of Education and early intervention program. Lord have mercy. That's parents of New York City who deal with that definitely know what time it is with that. That would probably be for the next episode, because I think that's like I would have to basically dedicate an entire show to that, because the words and the things I have to say would probably take the whole show. But again, I'm going to pray on that as well. But I'm, like I said, going to be more interpersonable. I'm going to pour my heart out and tell people what it is and what it really is, and how it's going to be and how it's been. And I hope that you guys tune in and listen. I want you to make sure that you follow me on Instagram at the Aaron Smith, on X at the Aaron Smith. I'm on Facebook as Aaron L. Smith. You can Google me and find Aaron Smith is Undefeated on any podcast platform. I'll be adding to more platforms as I go along, but you can catch me on YouTube. And I look forward to talking to you guys again. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for joining me. And I will see you again on another episode of Aaron Smith is Undefeated. Until then, take care, God bless, and stay safe out there. Peace.